Hello, everyone, and welcome. Let's start. So, you guys are here to learn how to make delicious and beautiful cakes, breads, and desserts that don't trigger food intolerance. And that's why I'm here, and it's what I'm going to share with you guys, just as a curiosity. So I love to know where people come from, just because I immediately connect with what the country offers, what the city offers, what are the ingredients you have available there. So I'm Fabiana Pragier. I'm Brazilian. Yeah, I'm Brazilian, and I live in Europe for 8 years now. I'm pastry chef, and I'm specialized in gluten and dairy-free baking. I used to say my slogan is that I help you to have a delicious gluten and dairy-free life, and that's possible. And I'm going to share with you daily in my Instagram profile, on Facebook, and also today that is possible to have this life, a delicious gluten and dairy-free life, and we just have to learn how. But today, we are here to demystify the gluten and dairy-free world. This will be no longer a problem in your life. If you don't have any problem with dairy, the workshop is for you too. If you feel you can no longer bake a cake that please both the eye and the palate because of dietary restrictions, or if you are constantly trying gluten-free and dairy-free recipes that only turn out wrong, you have to know that you are not alone. I've also cried from frustration in front of the oven. And another very strong frustration I had, for some time, I was making cakes for different clients, one with food intolerances and the other ones without. Is this like your home? Rings a bell. So I spent extra hours in the kitchen until I decided to make everything gluten-free and dairy-free. That's the reason. That's when a new and lonely journey began, actually, because I didn't have access to a specific course that taught me how to do it. That's the moment the internet, wrong informations, copy and paste recipes, and now artificial intelligence starts consuming your whole energy, right? Today we are here to learn the secret of making delicious and beautiful cakes and sweets that don't cause inflammation or food intolerance. And I can tell, as someone who is in this journey for many years, that I'm the right person to show you the way. Before I tell you how I learned to use gluten and dairy-free ingredients and still make beautiful, consistent, soft, flavorful baking goods, I want to meet some of my students. So you guys are starting now, getting to know me and getting to know my work, and I think is a good way to do it. Let's meet them.
I need a gluten-free diet because of medical advice and I love baking. So I try a lot of gluten-free recipes from the internet. Most of them are too complicated and don't work. Your recipes are very simple and delicious and they worked every time. My friends and family love it and they don't believe me that this is gluten-free. Today we have chocolate cake day. The kids love it.
Most of the time when we eat gluten free, it's tasteless. But I think that your bread is delicious, if I may say. It's had amazing taste. Actually, eating your gluten-free bread doesn't feel as if you're eating gluten-free. Because most of the time, when we eat gluten-free food, they taste less. But I think, the bread that you create, makes it as if we are just eating normal bread, which is really enjoyable.
I know a lot of stuff. Yes, I'm a businesswoman and I'm a mother and everything is nice. But in the kitchen, I never got it. It's not a pleasure for me. I prepare food, I prepare cakes, but it don't work as it says in the tutorials or in the books or in the papers. So I thought I will never get a good cake. Up to one day, my daughter gets 18 years, and she asked me to And I said, I can't do the cake. Come on, it's your 18th birthday. Don't risk it, because up to then I always bought it and I put something on decoration. Said, no, even if it's really simple, please. And I said, okay, I remember Fabiano's lessons, and eventually I have a chance to get the cake. And I remember, because I prepared everything in the kitchen, I ask everybody to walk, to let me alone, because it will be very stressy. But you followed me step by step, not just the course. But I asked you something, I remember, in WhatsApp, and you were traveling in the airport or something, and you answered me. And I think I asked everything stupid, like basic, what is an egg or something like that. And I did it, and I send you the results every hour or something. Once you were flying, and then you get up, I arrived in the airport, let me see what you did. And it was so wonderful. It was
We
not.
were exchanging pictures. I
Yes,
remember.
yes, you can show them, because I'm up to now I'm proud. And in the family, they ask me more times to do it, but it was so perfect. I did it after, and now I'm able to do cakes, to bake, to do the cake stuff. And I thought I was never going to go there, but thanks to you and your calm explanation, and you know, I don't feel that I'm not able. I said, okay, let's try. She explained it in a very nice and easy way, and it was a wonderful result. And then you showed me how to make a decoration. So I get crazy, and I bought a lot of fruits. I said, now I'm the winner. And you have to show the results. I am so proud of it. I'm so proud of it. And thank you so much that I got there. It was a wonderful experience. It was really.
So these students, they experience what you are experiencing, the frustration of trying to eat something healthy and facing many difficulties in finding good and clear recipes, having to bake for their kids, facing the fact that many gluten-free goods are tasteless. It's very frustrating, right? So investing in expensive ingredients doesn't guarantee you'll be able to make beautiful pies or crusts that are structured, soft, and delicious, even if money is not a problem. Testing ingredients and throwing things away is very frustrating, right? So actually, this for me was the most energy consuming part. Now the fact that to test, you have to test, like you have to really make the cake, the bread, and wait and do all the steps, the fermentation, let it proof, and so to end up throwing away is really frustrating. This happened to all of us in the beginning. Only those who have spent years cooking know that a lot of testing is necessary. And I've already done these ingredient tests, mixtures, analyze the time the products interact with each other and the textures and the flavors. I came here to save you time on testing and wasting ingredients. Do you want to know how I managed to turn this whole journey into a profitable business that allows me to cook quickly in my kitchen? So whether it's a breakfast snack or a sophisticated Christmas Eve dinner, today I'm going to help you to see that baking without gluten and without dairy, if it's not your case, it's just like without gluten or just without dairy, this is also for you. But this can be more practical and simple than you imagine. That's a good one. Huh? And also very tasty, of course, because we can't give up the tastes. So there are two types of people who love the content I'm going to show you today. So the first is if you enjoy cooking, you like to make your cakes and desserts, breads, pies, whatever, at home for your family, and you get really frustrated when you don't understand why a recipe is not working, why it turns out crumbly, or your family doesn't like the taste and say, Mom, I don't want to eat this. So, or if you're ready to bake beautiful dishes and have a master professional pastry making, but you learn to do it in the traditional way. This happens to many of the followers. So they are very good bakers, but they do it in a classic way, gluten, etc. So with inflammatory ingredients, if we can say so. And because you love recipes that turn out both delicious and beautiful, so you're afraid to risk making substitutions and end up wasting time and ingredients and presenting something that's not nice, of course. And I was exactly like you, I can say, a person who went in search of doing something that I loved and that was good for me and for the others without triggering food intolerance. So I also needed productivity because I was a professional cook when I decided to completely eliminate gluten and dairy from my menu. Instead of having one food in each, I gained self-confidence, felt proud to help others, like eat what they like without worrying about their allergies or intolerance. So my work most of my life was not related to cooking, and I never imagined baking in my life. But look, I'll open a parenthesis here. Because actually, when I was 12 years old, I always loved the kitchen. So if you follow me, if you know me, you know that I always loved the kitchen. I actually didn't know how to fry an egg when I was a teenager, actually. But I used to love this environment, this universe. When I was 12 years old, I wrote a cookbook. Yes, that happened. So actually, my mother had a friend named Shirley. And this woman cooked so well, so well. She had a very elegant house, and I was fascinated by her dishes and the crockery. So I kept a diary with the recipes that I chased after her to get them for me. That she should tell me how she does it and all the ingredients, and she would cook many things just by memory. No? And at the time, I didn't have a computer. I was there writing down everything she told me. Life went on, and these old dreams no longer fit into my life. So because it's not what I've done. But I even brought the book here, so for you to know that I'm telling the truth. Look at the is a red yellow, because this has been a long time ago. I don't know if you can see. I was writing everything down. I had a very girly handwriting. I didn't have a computer, but years later, when I got a computer, so I made kind of a summary, but I forgot about it for many years because I became a real estate agent and ended up owning a real estate agency for 11 years. For if there are some Americans or even Europeans here, I used to own a Century 21. Yes, it was the Century 21 Active Invests. And I used to own one in São Paulo. And I did this for 11 years. Since I sold my real estate agency and had a contract with the buyer where I couldn't work in the field for 2 years, I decided to change completely and do something I really enjoyed. But the question was, what is this? What I really enjoy. If I could do anything I want, what would make me feel happy? I think many of you guys also think about it. Since I studied in Germany many years ago, I thought I'm going there. We're talking about 8 years ago. I'm going back there because I was living in Brazil, and I thought, okay, it could be an inspiration. No? So I decided that I would sell high quality coffee from Brazil to shops here in Europe, and at the same time supply sweets for this business. So for the same business, like I was aiming coffee shops or even restaurants, I don't know, where I could sell the Brazilian coffee. I even had an idea about making the capsules, and that was my first idea. And I thought, since I'm going to approach them to sell the coffee, I could also sell supply desserts, cakes, desserts, brownies, or things like that. I thought those businesses, since you already have a door open, could happen. And then what happened? Cooking, baking came back into my life after 28 years. I went to London. I graduated from Le Cordon Bleu because at that moment I was living in Germany. So I was doing that time. I did at that time in 14 months what I it would normally take like 3 years, because I did like a very intensive 6 to 9 hours a day, every day at school. And I was overly enthusiastic about everything I was learning. And when I was still at school, my colleagues, friends, and neighbors wanted gluten and dairy-free cakes because I used to do the tests. I used to try something differently, like with coconut or with other plant-based stuff. And when I would give to people to try, they would come to me and say, "Can you do it gluten-free?" I thought, okay. Then gluten-free is the thing, you know? So they wanted breads, desserts, everything, because the shops lack good fresh products, and I was there to check it out, because I started making my own research, like for how much I could sell, what I could sell, what are people looking for. And actually, this is a very important thing, because I realized at that time what people look for is not a special new product that is gluten-free and dairy-free. What the people are missing is the very normal, the very classic things they are used to eat, but in a gluten and dairy-free version. It seems very simple, no? But for me, was a completely new thing, because was in my head like people just want to have this carrot cake or the chocolate brownie in a version that they can eat without feeling bad. And this started to bother me a lot, because it was a real obstacle to create the products. I was creating my business and had a problem creating the cakes people missed, the food they couldn't eat anymore, but as delicious as the classic ones, because I never thought about, like, I would just make something gluten-free, because these people, they can't eat anything else, and whatever what they get is okay for them. Because many times I see products that are gluten-free and they look bad, and people kind of accept so that they look like strange, right? Just because they are gluten-free. What are you expecting? No? And actually, in my head, I was a pastry chef, and I thought, so when I present something that I baked, I expected this to be beautiful, to look appealing, to look like yummy. I would like to eat that, like the classic stuff. So I was learning about food intolerances. As I said, I'm dairy intolerant myself, but knowing that people felt sick, their stomachs swelled, and they got headaches, really motivated me to do my best. At this moment, I actually took the decision to dedicate myself 100% to gluten and dairy-free baking. Was at the moment that I was creating the business, actually creating my ideas, my recipes, of course, and also what had a very big influence in this choice, let's say so, was the fact that I worked in the One Aldwych Hotel. It's in London, in central London, a 5-star hotel. And their concept is to be 100% gluten and dairy-free, but good, but premium, delicious, so that everybody would come there and have the same experience. So I quickly realized that transforming recipes wouldn't be an easy task, because simply substituting flours and other ingredients don't work. And when I started, there was nothing to compare, you know. And then I was comparing my things to the classic ones, and I wanted to reach the same level, which I did, thank God. So I started this experimenting, focusing on my kitchen as if was a laboratory, becoming obsessed with making my business work, because I knocked doors and brought the things for the shops to try, or for the people to try, and I really wanted to be proud of what I'm taking with me. When I approached the chef from the school once, when I was finishing school, was in this process, I was very enthusiastic, telling that I'm interested in developing gluten-free recipes. I baked a brownie and brought him to test. He didn't even try. He didn't even try it, and even said that this was exactly what he said to me. If the great French chefs are not making good gluten-free foods, you are not going to be the one who will get this right. That was a real blow, disappointing. He discouraged me a lot, but I was still determined to move forward, even if I didn't receive help from anyone. But I had to confess, it was tough. And I went to Paris at that time to look what is there, the great French chefs. What are they doing? Are they really not doing a great job? And actually, what surprised me is that I saw at that time a good vegan shop, a really good one. And I went to a chain that had, at that time, many years ago, they had 3 shops for gluten. It was a gluten-free cafe, gluten and dairy-free cafe. I have to tell that it was awful. It was the worst pain au chocolat I ever had in my whole life. It was a stone, was dry, was awful, and all the foods that they had looked really strange. But the oat milk latte was really good. It doesn't matter, but I was still determined to make it right, to make it happen, even knowing it's not that it's difficult to get the thing right, but it takes lots of study and tests to get things right. But as I said, I turned my kitchen into a laboratory, put my frustrations aside and invested money in making mistakes, of course, precisely to learn how to do it right. I understood in practice all the secrets related to substitute ingredients. I put a lot of effort and study on this. When I overcame the learning phase, I started selling the baking goods. I was even teaching my creations at some point, which is what I'm doing today. And I have to mention that the same chef who didn't believe in my work wrote me on Instagram one day, "It's impressive what you managed to do." After much study, I understood what was responsible for the success of gluten and dairy-free cake. And I think he realized that as well. After overcoming that phase, let's say, I really wanted to sell for businesses, and I thought, who am I going to sell it to? Over to? So I decided to sell it in delicatessens. If you know me, if you were my client, so is how I started. Actually, I started the very, very beginning was the delivery. But to delivery fresh cakes, fresh desserts, fresh is a disaster. Unless you have only cars delivery and you have a packaging like a built to suit this purpose, because many times the motorcycles brought the things upside down and was not so good. I started selling to delicatessens because I needed the volume, of course. So I was baking at the time a carrot cake, which is a Brazilian carrot cake. It's not a version from the classic one. Is totally different as we blend the carrots and the frosting is chocolate frosting. I remember the resistance in London. People said, our clients don't know it and wouldn't buy. So in the end, it was one of my clients' bestseller. And they wrote an article about it in their magazine. Actually, I remember that time. I think I was leaving the cakes there, specific cake, because I sold also the classic carrot cake, lemon cake. I was leaving the cake there, and they would pay if they sell, but they sold everything. So with these delicious and surprising products in hands, I wasn't afraid to approach renowned establishments with my products anymore. Of course, I faced some resistance, especially when it came to typical Brazilian recipes, of course, but even those gained prominence in sales. And in a short time, I was selling my products in the best places. And guys, I did my homework efficiently, of course. To give you an idea how dedicated I was, I read an entire 300-page book just to understand about bread hydration. I learned to practice with the discipline of a chef, with my goals in mind. I wanted to sell it. I want to present, first of all, something that was really delicious. And if I reached that stage, I knew I would sell, right? So time passes, and sometimes we don't realize our progress until something happened for us to see. And something happened to me 2 years after opening the company. I realized I had become an expert when I was approached to write a book, because you are in this daily thing. You are making many things. You don't realize how you are developing, and it's going to happen with you as well. At some point, you did lots of tests and so you make something that's really good. You leave that moment. You don't leave. You don't remember anymore. So you remember, but you don't think anymore about all the time you were struggling to make something right. But I was approached to write a book. And at this moment, I think people see that I have something to share. I have something here to share with you as well. This was the day I was signing the book, was the autograph session. The is in a very elegant bookstore. It was amazing. While many chefs are looking for a publisher for their books, I was invited by one of the largest publisher houses in Europe to publish my first printed book, which was nominated for an award when this was released. And actually, it says a lot. Gluten and dairy free was so unique. This was a great recognition, because today I know that many renowned chefs haven't been able to do what I have done. Make beautiful, delicious, moist cakes, crunchy breads with a nice side tarts that are gluten and dairy free and good. I'm giving this class because after selling so many of my recipes, I realized that a diet that doesn't cause inflammation is a great need. And if it wasn't easy for me, it's probably not easy for many of you guys. More and more people are suffering from gluten and dairy intolerance and allergies. And if I have this knowledge, of course, I had to share. And actually, I started teaching because many chefs have started asking me to teach, asking questions and asking for recipes. I was invited to help an Italian chef that time in his he was doing catering for events, and they used to ask if you want to have free from alternatives for canapes and things like that, and people said yes, because there are lots of gluten intolerance celiacs or vegans, and it's important to have. So your wedding is your birthday, you want people to have a good time, right? And that's how my online and in-person training programs were born. So today you're going to learn that you don't have to be on either of these sides, no? Or you eat something really nice and it melts, this chocolate, everything, but you feel bad because it's not gluten-free or dairy-free or gluten-free and dairy-free. Or, like I mentioned before, so you accept that gluten and dairy-free desserts are bad, are crumbly, are tasteless, they look bad, ugly, and sometimes you pay a higher price for them, by the way, most of the time. Even if you ask for alternative bread with your soup, sometimes they are going to add some to the price. And you don't have to choose if you eat something nice and feel bad, or if you, so you accept that everything is tasteless, is not nice, is expensive, and you can't make beautiful stuff, but at least you don't feel bad. You don't have to choose between these two anymore. Start writing down, because I'm going to have real information about ingredients, about reactions, about many things that you feel like writing down. Take a pen and paper. Actually, let's start this. Now you got to know me. Let's start this masterclass with a warning. So this is the most important thing you have to learn here, because I know you like a lot of blogs. You save thousands of recipes. You can't even find them later when you need to bake something. But my first advice for you is, it's no use expecting people to teach you a recipe if you don't know how it works and what influence the dough, fillings, ingredients, stabilizers, how to use them, how many recipes you tried and you didn't succeed. If it was just to give you a recipe with instructions and everything, so this wouldn't happen, right? But you do everything right and the outcome is not good. Therefore, I need to give you this warning. If you are just looking for a recipe, this masterclass might not be for you, because what I'm going to give you here is not just a recipe for you to cook. Actually, I have many very good recipes in my blog that you can take and follow. I have an amazing good chocolate cake, like the French crepes, the banana bread. Just go to my profile and you're going to get them for free. And so they are tested, so they work. So recipes can be found in any blog and YouTube videos. Here at this event, I'll teach you freedom. I'm not teaching you, giving you a recipe. You are going to be independent from all these blogs. You are going to be to feel safe because you understand about what you are cooking. Bake 100% gluten and dairy-free foods in a level that this can become your lifestyle for you, for your family, and this is going to also elevate your professional level if you are looking to turn this into a profitable confectionery business. If you have a cafe, if you have a restaurant, I know some of the students have restaurants and they want to have gluten dairy-free alternatives. If this is your goal as well, this masterclass is for you. So if you made so far in this event, so you are at a great warrior, and you want to change your diet, so we are together. You want to change your diet, you want to change your lifestyle, and from the people you love, you want to feel good when you eat food. So you don't want to think about, oh, I'm going to eat something that I like, but I'm going to feel bad after. And you are going to learn all this without being stuck with the recipes. Of course, if you are celiac, you are not testing your luck. But many people are doing this, and this is very dangerous because something that you can create bigger problems. The life without the things that trigger inflammation in your body is another life. Is amazing. To having an amazing skin is to wake up with energy to do the things you have to do during the day. Is coming back from work and have energy to be with your kids. Is like excited about what you're going to eat for dinner. Is just amazing. So I'm sure you recognize the symptoms of fatigue, a lack of energy, just for daily tasks like abdominal bloating, fluid retention, dark circles under your eyes, headaches, like gas, be fat, acne, skin problems. I see many people with the dairy intolerance that shows here with the redness. So I see a lot. Weak nail, gluten in like very bad for your large intestine. It makes your gut like preventing your body from absorbing nutrients from food. If you're tired, worn out, even have this brain fog, you know how it is. All because your body is suffering an aggression. So in this case, milk and gluten are the aggressors, like a dairy, who are struggling to process difficult to digest proteins. There are more proteins like gluten and casein. In wheat, you have more protein that you can be allergic to. The related problems go even further. So there is a scientific evidence of a connection between gluten and thyroid problems. So just a search for articles. I'm not putting anything here because it would be impossible to read and absorb. But imagine not caring about bloating, but after so many years of suffering from it, your body develops other illnesses associated to this intolerance, like I told you. So itching, skin irritation, low immunity, difficulty to lose weight. If you read the book Wheat Belly, you know that is fact, a study proven that if you crave for carbs and you can't lose weight even being in a diet, this might be related to gluten consume. Nobody wants to hear something like that, but it's true. Poor memory are all symptoms associated with food intolerances. And I also know that gluten intolerance can cause a dairy intolerance. Like the person was okay with dairy, but from consuming the gluten and being like with this inflammation, they became dairy intolerant. The aggressor, like the gluten, become like a poison in your body, and so everything starts not to work well. So today, let's forget about it for now, because today I want to help you have a better life. I'm not talking only about your kitchen. I'm talking about your everyday, like since you wake up in the morning till the moment you go to sleep, and you sleep well. You're going to be able to make recipes that are not harmful to you or your family or your friends. You will surprise everyone when you bring your recipe to the table, to your work, to your office, and don't tell anyone it's gluten-free, because you hear many compliments about how delicious and beautiful your food look like. And that's right. Many people doubt that gluten and dairy-free recipes can be tasty. And so if you tell the person before they eat, you can make this test. When you say before, this is gluten-free, dairy-free, before and tastes free. is like it is, but because subconsciously this change for them how the food is, and they relate to the things they already know. No? So I challenge you to do the test with the people in your family, not saying what it is, and then you say after. No? What you're going to learn here in these classes that you will become part of your life is something that will make you receive many compliments, and no one will feel unwell or have this abdominal bloating, gas, cramping. I can say you are not going to be frustrated again. I heard this so many times from my customers when they discover my recipes. They would say, I can't eat anything delicious anymore. Like, this is heart breaking. You know? Like, I used to love a pizza when I could, or like it's very sad. And I can make anything that's as delicious because my children's allergies or something like that. What I'm going to talk about from now will prepare you for anti-inflammatory baking. In the second lesson, I'll go into detail about what can be mixed among the ingredients. And in today's lesson, you discover how to overcome anxiety and insecurity when baking gluten and dairy-free. And this lesson will also prepare you so that in the second and third lessons, you feel confident enough to prepare your own recipes. Let's start looking at 3 mistakes. It's based, I don't know all of you, but based in the audience that used to follow me, the people I used to interact with, my students, buyers from my book, and the people I interact with, and in the business and in everywhere, the classes, the face-to-face classes. I know what people end up, what they are facing. At least this, I'm talking to in general, but my speech is based in these interactions, in my work experience. So, because you might hear something here that is not a mistake you are making, but is a mistake people do. And these 3 mistakes, the first 3 ones, are preventing you from transitioning from standard inflammatory cooking, or I don't know, to the good cooking, to the good baking. And so they are preventing you to really start living this free life with good food that I'm talking about. And the first one, so many people know what I'm talking about, is the vegan. People say, okay, especially the dairy-free ones. Dairy-free is not vegan. Dairy-free is dairy-free. You have lots of dairy-free alternatives. Even if your problem is only the lactose, you even can eat some cheeses that are lactose-free. You can find the list of them in the profile. But stop baking vegan recipes. If you are not vegan, if what you want is a gluten and dairy-free diet, you don't need to bake vegan recipes. Unless you are extremely allergic or vegan or allergic to eggs, of course, excessive dietary restriction can be a form of emotional self-sabotage for your body and your mind. Like, this is like it is. Like, if you say, okay, I have to be vegan. It's very difficult to start being vegan if you were not vegan before. And then it's very difficult. You suffer a bit in the beginning. And then, of course, if you are doing something that you suffer, like people who really don't like the fitness, go to the gym, they are more likely to give up. And then try to make it fun. Try to make it pleasant. Try to restrict as less as possible. Like, if you are okay with a lactose-free milk, drink a lactose-free milk. So I love the plant-based ones, but if just remove what really makes you feel bad. There are lots of good dairy alternatives, plant-based ones. And you don't have to restrict yourself exaggerately, like really not. When you are using a vegan recipe unnecessarily, understand that you could be using animal-derived ingredients that would make your recipes even tastier, more structured, with the ideal consistency in containing micronutrients that your body needs. Is different every time you are adding like flax seeds and many things to make it chewy or so. If you need, is just fine. If there is a resistance to cook without gluten and dairy, there is even more difficulty and resistance when you remove also eggs from your recipes. They are responsible for the success of many recipes. With them, many dishes become easier to prepare compared to vegan ones, cakes or so. Don't get me wrong, if you need such a diet, I even created eggless recipes. I have a manual how to replace eggs in your recipes, but do it if you need, if is something you really need to do, because eggs are actually health. But I mean, if you are vegan, if this is if this is what you chose or what you have to do, it's totally fine. I'm talking to you that just don't need to be in such a restrictive diet. You know? Dairy-free is not vegan. Other issue that comes up frequently and discourages much people to eat. So to change the diet, you know, are the prices, because when you say that something is gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, everything becomes more expensive. You know that. You know? This creates a negative belief that making something gluten and dairy-free is something really expensive that only rich families can afford. And that's not true. Especially because most of the things from nature, like the vegetables, the fruits and everything, the eggs are from nature, like they are naturally gluten-free. So just finishing this part, that's just to say that dairy-free don't have to be vegan. It's a misconcept. It's, if it sounds absurd for you, believe me, there are lots of people, they don't know it. And that's why I'm talking about it. So talking about a misconcept, so keep in mind that many influencers who are creating recipes are copying from other people. Like is copying and paste videos that became viral somewhere else. And they just, there are many ways now with artificial intelligence to just copy and post and change your voice. They post this without testing the recipe. I even had here at home, like now we have an air fryer, and happened here to be tested something that was seen on the internet, some wrap, I don't know, and just didn't work. So now with artificial intelligence, there are like comics, cartoons, baking gluten-free recipes. I've seen that. You have no idea how many absurd recipes and videos I see. And because I know the fundamentals of the preparation, I know exactly what could go wrong. So I noticed from the very beginning that this is not a recipe that's willing to work, especially the ones, the perfect recipe with two ingredients, with three ingredients. You don't bake a cake with two ingredients, banana and cocoa. This is not a cake. It doesn't have a nice texture. Or like these influencers end up doing you a disservice, you know? Because they make you believe there is no way out, and that's if you want to eat something that doesn't harm you, doesn't cause discomfort, bloating, so you need to eliminate almost everything from your cupboard. Like the vegan thing is limiting, is restrictive, is not necessary. And the influencers, many influencers, they do you a disservice. They are influencing you with wrong recipes that don't work when you bake, and makes you believe that the problem is you, and it's not. The second thing we have to talk about, we mentioned this previously, I think the biggest mistake that keep people away to reaching the goals in this diet, the free from diet, is not planning in advance. This is a mistake that not only harms your recipes, because when preparing gluten dairy-free dish, you won't be like if you are not prepared, if you don't have the ingredients, if you don't that's something I tell my students before you make things. Read all the method and everything, but try to have the basic gluten and dairy-free ingredients at home, because this is the mistake that destroy your determination to live an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. Unfortunately, if you go to the supermarket without this new lifestyle in mind, you likely be frustrated for not shopping the same ingredients to like you used to eat before. And so when you are baking, so you don't have the things at home, you're going to eat like everybody, what is there. And if you plan your shopping in advance, you can buy anti-inflammatory ingredients, snacks with good price and quality. You just need to create a routine that helps you to do research and commit to your anti-inflammatory goals. Research is very important. Use internet for health shops. You'll find better price and more options too, like just check the delivery time and plan in advance, because if you go to the internet, sometimes you find like almond flours and things like that. So you're going to find for the price of 300 grams in the supermarket, you buy 1 kilo online. Just check the delivery time. So plan what you need to do. You probably heard all the family members saying, don't go to the supermarket hungry because your shopping will be more expensive. And the same applies here. The logic's the same when you feel like baking a cake, an anti-inflammatory meal for your guests, or a sweet treat for your children. You are determined to go to the kitchen, and the lack of the right ingredients so will make you certainly grab wherever is in front of you. I know when we talk about celiac disease, planning is already there, especially for the lack of freedom and the risks involved, because if you eat gluten, you are glutenized, like people say, you can end up at the hospital. But all the other conditions requires a bit more discipline, because there is where most of the people fail. You are listening to this right now, you are there in your place, and you don't believe this is a problem. And I can tell you right now that the main thing that keeps you away from having a good anti-inflammatory diet is not planning in advance. This is the main reason. People just don't think about research, remove things from your place, think about the things you can need and start buying them. Change little things, because now studying nutrition, I also learned that the difference between someone that lose weight and stay in a good shape or in a good health, and the people who lose weight and come back is the habits. Like instead of using some nice fat from you cut the fat from the steak, and you grill your steak in the pan, you throw this away, you have just a bit, or you have butter, or you have a lots of so the way the little things, the way you prepare them are the biggest difference. Not to use the bouillon, what's the name, the stock cubes. Like there are so simple things that turns are the difference between someone that managed to stay healthier and maintain the weight for the rest of their lives, are the little things. And in this case here, this bit of a discipline, the planning and the buying things in advance, is what makes the biggest difference. Is how you see, it's where you see people failing. And now let's go to the main reason why your gluten and dairy-free cooking, baking might not be working. Are the recipes. The recipes you find in the internet, the ones that are wrong, the ones that are incomplete, the ones that ChatGPT gives you, and then you type, but ChatGPT looks and tastes awful, but it's the recipe you gave me. And then the ChatGPT replies, oh, I'm sorry, you were right, this couldn't work. Believe me, I've seen this happening. Like this is a true story. Even you no longer making, or you never made the mistakes, the previous mistakes I talked about, but your recipe just don't work. Your recipe might end up in the trash because they are incomplete or wrong, or even created by artificial intelligence, like who never tried to type it there. Or many blogs on the internet, so many fake chefs on the internet also post recipes made with artificial intelligence. Not same names or so, but it's very easy to have 100 recipes. They will just not go to work. Sticking strictly to recipes and standard ingredient lists can be a big problem because ingredients react with each other and with the environment. So a cake made in a different climate conditions may have different results. A cake is not really a big problem, but the breads can happen. You need to have some concepts in your mind. You need to understand a bit in order to succeed with a recipe that comes from another country, for example. When someone gives you a list of ingredients, but don't tell you what really matters in the outcome, the variations, the opposing reactions that the same ingredients can generate. So your recipe can be completely ruined. It happens. So that's why two people make the same recipe and one succeeds and the other doesn't. So if you have no idea, you are just putting things together and not respecting the method as well. One gets it right without knowing why, the other gets it wrong and blames herself because people that I talk to. So in our interactions, I often hear, it's not for me. I can't do that. There is a catch. No? Without gluten and dairy, these variations become much more sensitive. The things that can go right here and wrong there. The same small adjustment can take you from whoa, how nice, to throwing things on the trash. And I see many people eating also what goes wrong because is what they had and they like happens that people get to be traumatized from eating bad foods that never come out right. Some ingredients may be similar, but not everything can be substituted in the recipe without a prior research. That's why it depends on the flour to if you change, or the butter or the fats. Everything has a reaction. I myself have seen online channels teaching gluten-free recipes with mixtures that just don't work. Like I tested in the beginning many of them, like and people don't care. I even bought once a book with 100 bread recipes. This is the most disastrous thing I've ever seen, and they are copy and paste, and they just they say okay, sesame bread, and then the only difference is that they are adding sesame on top from another recipe. Things like that, it exists. But I think this leads to very unpleasant surprises and makes you frustrated. There are so you lose ingredients, they are expensive, you lose time, you don't feel like testing again. You get the feeling that you don't have the talents to make delicious cakes for your family, or even to sell gluten day free cakes. I have many people that used to buy from me because they tested so many different things, and every time it comes different, they decided just to buy. Even skilled pastry chefs give up venturing into the world of gluten and dairy-free pastry because they haven't trained on this kind of baking. They don't know how to replace ingredients. They are trained in a different method, and so they just it's just too different, and they would learn very quickly, but they just don't do it. If you are here watching me and is your case, like you are on the right place. So now you know three of the mistakes that will sabotage your recipes and trap you into inflammatory habits and not reaching your goals, I'm going to dive deeper into one of the fundamentals of anti-inflammatory cooking, which is mixing ingredients. So, what the main thing that's the main difference between the classic cooking and baking for this one, what you are hearing now, are the ingredients and ingredients interactions. I'm going to show you the part that nobody teaches you, and that explains why you followed the recipe exactly and still went wrong. What determine whether a gluten-free and dairy-free cake turns out beautifully or becomes a disaster. It's not the recipe, it's the reaction of the ingredients when they come together and when they are mixed with water as well, the liquids. And that's where frustration arises, because without understanding these reactions, you fall into polarities. One day the dough is perfect, the next day is dry. One day it's creaming, the next day it hardens. One day it grows, the next day it collapses. You start to think that the problem is you, but the problem is that you are trying to cook gluten-free and dairy-free using the same techniques you would use for regular food. I call this the polarities of the ingredients, because the same ingredient, with the same ingredient, you can get opposite results. It either stays moist or stays dry, or becomes creamy or becomes hard. It raises beautifully or collapses when you take it out of the oven. That's why so many people are charmed to go to internet solutions, and they end up even more frustrated. They are trying to guess in the dark, I would say, without seeing these polarities. Let me give you just a simple example. There is a fat that seems like a perfect replacement, but the texture changes completely when it cools down. We are talking about you are using, there are three fats. One is oil, one is coconut oil, and another one is butter. Melted, they are all the same, but when they are cool, they are totally different, right? You make a cream, it looks beautiful at first, and then it turns a stone in the refrigerator. Like when we are talking about buttercream, is exactly what you want. You think you made a mistake, but in reality, you just didn't have the right guides, because people could say, you can replace if you don't have, but with something that is similar, because sometimes people say use this, and if you don't have this, doesn't matter. I saw many of this kind of explanations in recipes. In the next lesson, I'll show you this simple guide. What are the polarities that most often ruin your gluten and dairy-free baking, your recipes, how to identify them, and how to bake everything beautifully without wasting ingredients. It's possible. Take your pen and paper, meet me here. And we are going to demystify this in practical, so in the next lesson. In summary, today, let me give you a very clear summary was about what you saw today. If your gluten and dairy-free recipes are not working, the problem is not you. It's not a lack of talent. It's not a lack of trying. Maybe not trying with the right guide. It's not because you are not good at cooking. What's sabotaging you is trying to make anti-inflammatory foods, like a gluten and dairy-free foods, using ready-made solutions from the internet, random replacement, random substitution, and the same techniques as traditional baking. Because sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes you have to pipe the bread, like a pipe with a piping bag, because the bread is more liquid. It depends the bread you are trying to do, of course. You saw today there are three major mistakes that trap people into the cycle of frustration. They are very simple and you might not be making them, but they are the main reasons why people are not reaching the goals. No? First, believing that everything needs to be vegan, when in reality this one creates more restrictions. As I said, it might not be your case, but is for many of my followers. Secondly, go into the market and the kitchen without planning, without having the right ingredients available. And third, perhaps the most invisible of all, but happens often and I think is the biggest one. Not the biggest one, but the one that most people get trapped into. Is follow incomplete recipes that don't explain how the interaction works, how the ingredients react. Recipes that give you a list, but they don't guide you. They give you a list of ingredients, but they don't guide you exactly in how you should, what you should observe. They don't let you see the polarities of the ingredients. You start cooking in the dark, let's say so. And sometimes you get it right just by luck. This can happen as well. Sometimes you make something is very nice, but then you never reach this outcome again. Sometimes you make mistakes and you blame yourself. When you are cooking or baking classic food, and when it becomes to gluten and dairy free, these mistakes become even more cruel because it's the food you need to eat, you have to eat, you need to reach these good results because someone depends on it, or your diet, your food consumption depends on it, and then you are failing, and it's very frustrating. Small things in this kind of baking, cooking, small things generate completely different results. But there is not only bad news, there are also good news. When you understand that there is a logic behind the mistake, there is a right way to do, and you learn that, then this blame, this weight is lifted from your shoulders. You start believing in yourself. You start baking beautiful and delicious foods, and this is not going to be part of your life again. I'm sure, and I believe in you, and I can assure. So bear with me. Meet me in the next lesson, and we are going to demystify all this together. See you then.